Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into Lesson 40 from the classic text 504 Absolutely Essential Words. But instead of just memorizing a random, exhausting list of words, we're going to try something incredibly powerful. We are going to master them through a thematic approach. By grouping these specific words into logical, bite-sized categories, we can totally accelerate your mastery, bypass that feeling of being overwhelmed, and actually remember these terms when you need them in the real world.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is Lesson 40, straight out of the textbook, showing the 12 target words we are going to conquer today. Now, right now, it might just look like your standard, intimidating list: epidemic, obesity, magnify, chiropractor, obstacle, ventilate, jeopardize, negative, pension, vital, municipal, oral. But we aren't just going to read down this list. We are going to completely restructure these words so they stick in your mind forever.
So, here's our mental roadmap for today. We're splitting these 12 words into 3 core chapters: health and biology, roadblocks and risks, and civic and professional life. Then we'll see the words in action and finish up with a quick knowledge check to lock it all in.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, Health and Biology.
Here are the 5 key words anchoring our health theme. We've got epidemic, obesity, chiropractor, vital, and ventilate. Just looking at them grouped together like this, you can already start anticipating the biological connections between them, right? Let's zoom in on a couple of the most highly specialized terms right now.
First up is chiropractor. This is a person who treats ailments by massage and manipulation of the vertebrae, which is based on the theory that disease actually results from interference with the normal functioning of the nervous system. Learning this specific professional title is absolutely essential if you want to understand modern discussions about treating physical pain, particularly spinal issues.
Listen to how it sounds in a practical context. The chiropractor recommended hot baths between treatments. Notice how this word immediately paints a picture of a very specific healthcare setting? It's literally like a microstory. We instantly imagine a patient receiving physical therapy and getting practical advice for recovery. And that's exactly the power of putting vocabulary directly into a real-world scenario.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the directness of the definition. Obesity simply means extreme fatness, but it is categorized and treated as a serious medical condition, not just some casual visual descriptor. When we see or use the word obesity, we are talking about a specific biological reality that carries immense weight in scientific and medical literature.
But look at how we actually use it in everyday conversation. The text provides this great sentence. The salesman tactfully referred to Jack's obesity as stoutness. It's kind of funny, right? It perfectly contrasts the clinical, medical reality of the word obesity with the polite, social maneuvering we often do in public to soften the blow. It really shows that words don't just have clinical definitions, they have social weight and require a bit of tact.
Let's move on to Section 2, roadblocks and risks.
When we look at our risk-focused words, obstacle, magnify, jeopardize, and negative, they conceptually group together just beautifully. Think about the narrative here. An obstacle blocks our path. A negative attitude makes it harder to deal with. Magnifying a problem makes it seem overwhelmingly worse, and doing so can jeopardize our ultimate success. They all orbit this central idea of facing adversity.
Let's look really closely at jeopardize. The definition is pretty straightforward: to risk or to endanger. But structurally, it acts as an incredibly strong verb. We don't just jeopardize something trivial, We use this word when we are putting something highly valuable, like a career, a life, or our health, at severe risk of failure or absolute ruin.
And this brilliantly illustrates that point. Soldiers jeopardize their lives in war. It isn't just about taking a casual chance, it's about existential risk. Tying the word to such a powerful, high-stakes image will ensure you never forget its intense meaning.
Next up is obstacle, meaning anything that gets in the way or hinders, an impediment or obstruction. Now, unlike jeopardize, which is an action we actively take, an obstacle is a thing we encounter. It perfectly fits our theme of risks and challenges, representing the inevitable roadblocks, both literal and figurative, that we've got to navigate around to succeed in life.
Check out this sentence from our source. Ignorance is an obstacle to progress. Notice how obstacle is functioning here. It's not just a fallen tree across a road. It's a conceptual barrier. Ignorance blocks human advancement just as effectively as a physical brick wall blocks a car. Seeing it applied to abstract concepts like this really elevates how we understand the word.
Moving right along to Section 3, Civic and Professional Life.
The terms anchoring this civic section are municipal, pension, and oral. If you want to read local news effectively, sign a long-term employment contract with confidence, or honestly just understand how city affairs are run, mastering these 3 specific words is absolutely critical.
Take municipal, for example, which means of a city or state, or having something to do in the affairs of a city or town. We frequently see this word attached to specific civic entities. We talk about municipal elections, municipal bonds, or the municipal water supply. It's exactly the vocabulary foundation we need to discuss local governance intelligently.
Look at this sentence from the textbook. The state police assisted the municipal police in putting down the riot. This is fascinating because it clearly draws the distinction between state-level authorities and municipal or local city-level authorities working side by side. The context of the sentence is basically doing all the heavy lifting for our memory here.
All right, Section 4, Words in Action. Let's pull it all together.
Here is the reading passage provided for Lesson 40, titled Weight Watchers. Seeing these vocabulary words contextualized in a flowing narrative is really the final key to locking them in. Writers use them together as tools to convey complex, layered ideas, and seeing that in practice is a total game changer.
So, the crucial point is seeing how they weave together. The text talks about an epidemic of obesity, calling it a major obstacle to good health. It warns that people jeopardize their health with bad habits, and even notes how this impacts hiring for municipal jobs. Notice how we seamlessly crossed from our health theme right over into our risks theme, and finally into our civic theme. That is the true power of language in action.
And finally, Section 5, the final knowledge check. Let's see what's stuck.
Let's do a quick puzzle together using 2 sentences taken straight from the book's exercises. Fill in the blank. Number 1. Without the blank, he faced hardships in his retirement. And number 2. The humid air in this room must be blank. I'm going to give you just a second to mentally retrieve those answers. Think back to our thematic buckets. You got it?
Let's see what we found. For the first one, dealing with retirement hardships, the word is pension, right out of our civic and professional theme. For the second, fixing the humid air requires the room to be ventilated, pulled directly from our health and biology bucket. See how easily they come back to you when they're organized this way? Now that you've mastered these 12 thematic pegs to hang ideas on, how will you use them to elevate your own communication today? Keep analyzing, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next explainer.